Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and have I got a huge report for you. The United Nations is now backing Obama and Hillary Clinton, who are planning a secret takeover of this particular inner force. What is that inner force? Well, it's our local police departments, our PDs, those who help in our immediate community. And they're doing that via the consent decree, as well as the Strong Cities Network, the UN police force, and a heck of a lot more. I think the best thing to do is let's delve into this report. All right, so the first thing I want to show you here is on lifezet.com, and here's the headline. UN backs secret Obama takeover of police. Lovely, isn't it? International organization calls for the federalization of U.S. law enforcement to be beefed up to cover all of America. I don't know about you, but that is chilling to the bone and absolutely disturbing. And notice the date on this. It was posted very recently. Now, I want to read you a quote here, and this was put out by a representative of the UN Human Rights Council. There's the information there, but it reads, the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice has provided oversight and recommendations for improvement of police services in a number of cities with consent decrees. I want you to keep that in mind. And not all cities have consent decrees, but some do. This is why they want it to cover all of America. But moving forward, this is one of the most effective ways to reduce discrimination in law enforcement. And it needs to be beefed up and increased to cover as many as 18,000 plus local, keyword there, local law enforcement jurisdictions. Now, let me just ask the obvious here. The Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, a federal organization, they are a federal run organization, wants to put stipulations and recommendations and have oversight on our local police departments, local as in city, state run here, yet the feds want to get their grummy hands in our local police departments and take over them as well. Now, this is not, and I repeat, this is not an all-out federalization of our police force. That is not what is going on here. What is going on here is a step, and a major step in that direction. When you have oversight and you have regulations being pushed on you via these consent decrees, and you have to answer to the federal little g God, that's exactly what's happening here. It's like no longer is it the states' rights anymore. They're removing more and more rights from the states to give more power to the big guns. That's what we don't want. That leads straight to communism, straight to socialism. And this is 100% the goal. And I'm going to prove it to you with the UN police force, the Strong Cities Network, and many other things. Now, I've done lots of reports on this. I even did a document on this same information. But crazy stuff going on here. Now, here's this little word, consent decrees. What is that? Well, here is a Wikipedia definition. A consent decree is an agreement or settlement to resolve a dispute between two parties without admission of guilt or liability, and most often refers to such a type of settlement in the U.S. The plaintiff and the defendant ask the court to enter into their agreement, and the court maintains supervision over the implementation of the decree in monetary exchanges or restructured interactions between parties. It is similar to and sometimes referred to antitrust decree, stipulated judgment, settlement agreements, or consent judgment. Consent decrees are frequently used by federal courts to ensure that businesses and industries adhere to regulatory laws in such areas as antitrust, employment discrimination, and environmental regulation. All right, so let's learn a little bit more about these consent decrees. This is on archives, bluenationreview.com. Now, this was back in 2015. However, I think it gives you an idea, but more than 20 U.S. cities are currently under a DOJ consent decree. But do they really work? The answer is no, they don't work. Here's it in a nutshell. The local authorities are already putting stipulations and regulations on their police. States, cities, municipalities, they have regulations they have to cover. They have things that they are doing. But when you go on top of it and say, oh, the state or the city ain't doing their job, like the freaking feds can come in and do a better job, right? That's why our government organizations such as Department of Motor Vehicles, to mention one, and the IRS are working so fabulously because the feds took it over. Oh, not to mention Obamacare, right? That's just pure crap. So let's do the same thing with our police departments because the states aren't doing so good of a job. Let's put it under the feds marker. No, that's not what it's about at all. It's the feds wanting control, wanting to make a federal police force. Same reason they're beefing up your local PDs with their MRAPs and their night gear and their goggles so they can tick us off at the police officers. So we don't like them anymore because they're beefed up and militarized. It's all part of the agenda. But that's not what we need to do. These are men that protect us on a daily basis in our communities. And let me just say this, I know there's corruption. There is bad ones out there, but there are also good ones out there. And there's a line to be drawn when they are attempting to federalize them. That is a big issue. But in this report, if you read through it, in a nutshell, it says, no, the feds program doesn't work. Why? Because it's long and drawn out, just like everything else. It can take a very long time, years for prosecutions. That's just what it is. I mean, like everything else with the government, you're going to wait a long time for that permit. You're going to wait a long time for anything of that method, but really gets into it. Here is another report. This is Legal and Liability Risk Management Institute. Why? And this is 2010, but it's worth reading because they're trying, and Obama's trying, Hillary's going to try it as well, to push these in all of our cities. Now, I know it's currently in, I believe, I'm not 100%, but I believe Orleans, Cleveland, Ohio, Ferguson, Pittsburgh, and many others. As the report you saw a moment ago, it's 20 different U.S. cities. I believe Detroit was on it, but is no longer on it, if I'm remembering that correctly. But this kind of gets into a little information about why they're not good. But I'll leave a link for this. I don't want to get into that today. Moving on back to Wikipedia here. Look, they already have the federal DOJ, Department of Justice. You can see Department of Justice, FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. They already have this police force. Well, apparently it's not big enough. They want to take our local PDs and put more regulations on them via these consent decrees. But look at how many agencies they already have. We have FBI, CIA, let me name a few others on my list here. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosive. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, I said that. Enforcement, the DEA, the DHS, the TSA, the CBP, and so on and so on and so forth. They've got enough. They don't need more. Now, switching gears a little bit, but still on that same page, here is another thing that I wanted to show you kind of up that same alley. Now, we know that they are wanting to federalize our police. And like I said, these consent decrees are not a full out federalization of our police force. However, they very well are a major step in that direction. Well, I wanted to show you this because the Michigan National Guard, I found this interesting and it kind of ties with our police force. Well, if they're trying to federalize our police force, which I believe they want to eventually make it a part of the UN and world army, so to speak, against, whoever goes against it. That is the biblical reason that we believe one day could arise, I also kind of see it happening on a day-to-day basis. Well, you can bet that the military is going to be involved in that as well. National Guard, another local force here, is supposed to help in times of trouble as well. But our National Guard, okay, branch of the military, but our military units from Michigan, Latvia, Canada, and Poland. Interesting to note here that both Latvia and Poland both had tensions with Russia, which let me show you on a map here. Here's Latvia, here's Poland, here's Russia. Kind of interesting there, but just a side note. But they're going to be working right now, August 1st through the 20th. It means they're working now on Operation or Exercise Northern Strike. And it's going to have air and ground and combat and supersized training that is going to be happening there. Now, what I find interesting is the fact that we are working with foreigners. Because like I said, it's that world army. Step one, federalize the police here in America. Once they're federalized, then step two is to get them used to working with military and personnel from other countries and eventually have your New World Order United Nations police force. That's step two. So step one you saw, step two you saw here as well. So, but I can't help. Obviously, there's going to be countries fight the New World Order. There's going to be people against it. We know Putin as one of those. At least many believe he is. Others don't believe that he is. I'm kind of, well, anyhow. But I find it interesting that we are doing drills with two other NATO, or they're all NATO members here, but ones that border or are near Russia. And I know that tensions with America and Russia are rising right now. Not all globalists are going to go with the flow, so to speak. Now, two last things that I want to show you is here, the United Nations Police Force, peacekeeping force. So they claim what the UN police do in the field. Now, we all know that the UN has a police force. Step one, federalize our police, get it out of the state's hands. Step two, make a New World Order unified sort of police force against those who refuse the New World Order. And here we are. Once again, this leads to more into step two, that UN police force. Now, what is the bridgeway between step one and step two? Well, here's the bridge. That is your Strong Cities Network. Now, if you guys are not familiar with this, I've done a few reports on it already, but this is a network of cities, police departments from all over the world linking together. This is the bridge between step one and two, linking together to make a place where you can share information. You can share about your police department. You can share your strategies that work or don't work. You can share your secrets. But as you know, it was launched back in September of last year. Miss Loretta Lynch, that wonderful witch, gave us this great information. Obviously, that was sarcasm. But they want more and more cities to be a part of this thing. And as you can see, they've been working all through, and John Kerry's jumped on board, but they've been working all through 2016 to push this, even having global summits. But many cities have already jumped on the bandwagon. I believe Detroit, New York City, and others at this time. But there you have it. All that to say, I think you see what is happening here. Now, one last thing that I want to mention, and I did a whole report on this, and I'm not going to go back, but that is the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. Notice the date here, March 2015. Obviously last year. Now I'm going to leave a link to that because I encourage you guys to check it out. But in this report as well, this is kind of step 0, and then we have step 1 and step 2, right? So this is the 0th step. Well, this 0th step, I guess, or a 0.5 step maybe. What this report does, and I'm going to quote from page 1 of the document. So if you want to go to page 1, you can follow along there. But it states that people are more likely to obey the law when they believe those who are enforcing it have the right, the legitimate authority to tell them what to do. Now, I'm all for police having authority, and obviously they have some sense of authority, but to put it in such a bold manner, to just tell them what to do, I don't know. But the main thing I think that this really pushes on page 4, it says partnerships across every level of government and sector. Which means they want to pull our police departments in our schools, in our buildings, in our offices, and make a unified network of communication between local law enforcement and the private sectors, including religious groups. And that is found where it ties with the religious organization. On page 46, law enforcement agencies should develop programs that create opportunities for officers to regularly interact with neighborhood residents, faith leaders, and business leaders. And page 48 and 49, they should work with schools and monitor school policies. Build trust between youth and police by creating programs. That's page 50 and page 71, public-private partnership opportunities. They basically want them infused throughout our culture. Well, what happens when they are infused throughout our culture and then they become federalized? Point 5 to step 1. Well, once they become federalized, then we're looking at Nazi Germany style police force here in America. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest on this. I believe it's definitely something worthwhile to keep an eye on. We cannot continue to ignore this stuff and just push it to the side, because each step is one step in that direction. And I take it very seriously. Now, here's the other thing, doesn't mean all the crap is going to hit the fan today. Doesn't mean you panic and pull your hair out and go running like a chicken with their head cut off. People often ask, well, you give bold titles. Yeah, that's because I believe the information is absolutely vital to get out. And if it doesn't get out, people are not informed on it. And that is what breaks my heart. The message needs to go out there. The message needs to go viral. And we need to be aware of what is going on and the documented proof to back it up. Now, I did a report on this last year when it came out, but it's not something we should ignore. Neither is the Strong Cities Network or the UN force that's being built behind closed doors. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning into my channel. And if you've not yet checked out my sponsors, please do so, or my partners are probably my better word there. They help fund what I do here on YouTube. I do not accept direct donations. It's all simply through the advertisements here, but I honestly back all the products. The protovite.biz, there will be a link there for you guys to check out. Love that product. It has helped my cycle, cleared it almost completely, not completely, but it was, I had some issues with that for a while, but it's gotten a lot better. Also, the tea, the super strength tea, and the D365 at www.getthetea.com. Also, digestive system issues are cleared up 100%. They're gone due to the tea and the D365, which I would take on the days that I wasn't able to make the tea. But great products. And if you're not stored up with food, please do so. Foodforliberty.com/Haven. I'm an avid supporter of food. And again, it's not something, I don't push something that I don't personally do. And that's something that I believe in and personally do. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. This is Lisa Haven signing off.